Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kriti, and I am back with another interview with an expat living here in Denmark. This video will focus on student life and what are the struggles, challenges, and culture shock that you might experience as a student here in Denmark. To discuss this and share the story, I have Gokul with me. Gokul, welcome to my channel.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. And to begin with, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Gokul. I'm a data scientist at NASC. I'm a DTU alumnus. I graduated last year. I originally come from Bangalore, India. So I came here like I think 3 years ago now, and I graduated. And I guess I'm currently living my Danish dream.
Yeah, so Gokul, how was it to study here in Denmark? What are the I want to know what are the culture shock that you experience, when you are studying in Denmark?
I think first of all, the way maybe this is because of the education that I had, right? Because I didn't study at a top tier school in India. So I studied in a university in Bangalore, and yeah, it wasn't really very fancy or anything. So for me, the way the lectures were structured and the whole assignment way of doing things, although we did it with maybe a little more of support in India. So I would say even we were spoon fed a bit, but that wasn't the case over here. So you were asked to figure out things on your own. And
Mhm.
I think the next thing was, at least in the university, the emphasis on group work. That I think is something that is synonymous to all schools in Denmark, and it's also what they give a lot of emphasis to in masters, at least, because that's what you do even in a company, right? So you don't solve. Of course, you have an individual part in a group work,
Mhm.
but you solve problems as a team, and that's something that happens in a company, and which is also what you do extensively in the Danish university. So that is something that also makes it easier for you to adjust to when you start working here, I guess, when you when you've studied here and then you start working here. And then I think besides that, the other culture shocks per se were just how direct people were. You know, in India we like to, or maybe I'm generalizing. I don't want to touch any nerves, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
like to sugarcoat things. And here people just don't. At least the Danes do not. So that's something, then that makes it easier for you to cut the nonsense out of the way and then just get right to the point. Right? So that is something that even I've learned to be a little more direct in both in my personal life and also professional life. But initially, yes, that was still a shock.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if someone doesn't like you, you're going to get it right away. It's not like someone pretends to like you and then they go behind you. Of course, these things still happen, but generally, the directness stands out as a society. I think then the other things were how clearly they define work life. Even as a student, right? Like Monday to Friday, it's very well defined. The efficiency of these people in the Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday is just you tune off, you do what you have to do. Personally, you have enough time, but of course, as a student, it's still maybe a little hard to balance it because you have some assignments or something like that that spills over to the weekend.
Mhm.
Nevertheless, that is something that now even I'm seeing that people, even students, who maybe work as student assistants or something, they have that clear definition. So that is also something, how to be efficient when you sit from 9 to 5 and have that balance after 5. You try to focus on that is still something that I'm trying to adapt to. I must be honest. I'm not as efficient, but that was a shock nevertheless.
Yeah, I totally agree because I also feel that Danes are very direct and you have to be very efficient because they plan everything. So you need to also plan your day, your week, your holidays. Could you tell us about more about your masters and why did you choose Denmark?
Right. So I did my master's in industrial engineering and management. So I didn't really choose, I must be honest. So I actually was considering going to Canada while I was trying to look for a master's course. And US was a no-go for me because it was just not affordable, plain and honest, even with an educational loan for me. So it was either Canada or there's nothing else. But I had one of my best friends who was studying here. That's how this whole idea of DTU got into my head. Of course, I looked at Germany and everything, but for industrial engineering and more specifically supply chain technical course, that's also what I was looking at. So that wasn't, yeah, I mean, the language and all of that, those were playing a big role in my head. So I was like a little skeptical of it. So Denmark, having a friend, one of my closest friends here, tell me all about it, convinced me to, apply. And more specifically, DTU actually took part in a career fair or an education fair, should be honest, in Bangalore. And I spoke to the admissions officer, Anita Singh, over there. So I could ask her all the questions that were running in my head and even get tips for application and stuff like that. That's also when she told me about the scholarship that was in play. So, which is also why I applied, because there was a way to, secure a scholarship that was state funded. So I applied, and then I got the admission, and having secured a scholarship made it easier for me to choose. And to be honest, I did not really overthink it because I was working at the time when I applied for this, for my master's. So I got something and I was very happy that I was accepted, although I had offers I had like 2 admits in Canada. I was like, okay, here I don't have to pay the fees. So that was the distinguishing factor. And of course, after, before joining also, we looked at the courses and all, but this is something that everyone does. So I don't want to go too much into that, but I did hear from my friend that DTU gives you the flexibility with courses. So you have like 30 credits, which is mandatory, and everything else you can plan it according to your interest and convenience. So that is, at least that wasn't very easily conveyed to me from the other universities where I had the admit. So that also played into it, where I could customize my masters to my liking.
Yeah. So now, like, you got the scholarship, you moved to Denmark, and now you started to study. What are the struggles that one can face, or maybe if you want to share your struggle that you faced as a student here in Denmark?
Yeah. So about that, I think this can even turn into a monologue, but I'll try and keep it short. The thing is, studies, as I said, for me at least, having the group work and all of those things that was something that you learn into it, right? You kind of, it's not something you can dwell on. You need to adapt and then move through, because it's just 4 semesters where one is a thesis and time just flies. So that wasn't really as much, but I think the biggest challenge for me, more than academically, was try to get used to the the aspect of doing odd jobs. So at least for me, financially, I had to do odd jobs to sustain my living expenses. So again, this is not something that is told. You're not told this. It's okay to do these things. At least back from home where I come from, in my circle at least, this is in some sense still frowned upon. So when I had to make that decision to get an odd job to sustain my expenses, because I couldn't secure a student assistant job or an internship while I was studying in the first semester. So it was getting too late, and then from my second sem, I needed something to give me to sustain my living expenses again. So I resorted to doing an odd job at a theater. So that really was a struggle per se, because first thing was to then get past this mental stigma that I had. I'll just put it that way, that I had personally, that I shouldn't be doing these things. So that was the first bit. The second part was trying to balance that with my studies, and to make sure your studies are not affected. That definitely was a challenge, because unlike people who come from over here, they do these student jobs, or it may be odd jobs or normal office student assistant jobs, whatever it is. They learn to balance it from a very young age, right? So that we don't have that convenience. So that is something that you need to adapt to. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Personally, for me, it was a struggle to balance them both. And then that's when, work used to get spillover during the weekends, and I had to tend to some of my assignments to make up time because I was doing a student job. And that was the first thing. And the second thing was, again, for me, mostly with respect to job search. I wouldn't go too much in depth about struggles in studying, because that's something that is synonymous to wherever you go, maybe because,
Yeah.
and education is supposed to challenge you, that's why you do a master's and it's so valuable. But I think on the flip side, what comes alongside with it, living on your own, and also the whole job search ordeal to find a full-time job, that is definitely something that was one of my biggest struggles, I would say. But again, it's not something to regret or anything, but just to go through the process of resume and cover letter, you don't know anything about it, because in India, the way we do it is entirely different. The numbers in India are different. So the way the recruiters filter out or select candidates even is an entirely different
Yeah.
thing. So when you come over here, you need to learn the job market, think how people work, how do they go through this process, and then fit yourselves or adapt accordingly. And then also the whole aspect of networking. I wish I was told that sooner. I did start with it as early as I could. I think it was in my far end of first semester where I randomly started talking to people on LinkedIn and trying to play my way into maybe a student job. That was the idea. But the way I approached it, at least, was I used to talk to someone and ask them for a job directly, and that is
Yeah.
never a good approach. Again, this might become a LinkedIn strategy talk. That's not what we're talking about, but this is just a struggle for me personally. How do you establish relationships with people when you network? So that is something that you learn, and you learn to invest time with such people, and then you show for them who you are, and then eventually something will pan out. So it's about playing the long game in that sense when it comes to networking. And also with the whole job search, it could go either way. Maybe I wasn't good enough to know these things earlier. People could say it, but I think overall the theme is that this whole job search is a very difficult ordeal, which you have to learn on your own. And in my opinion, the one thing that will help is to basically ask around and talk to more people and engage, so that you don't make the same mistakes as they did.
Yeah, that was my question. Like, once you're here and you can get the help from people, if you are curious, like how to start with networking, how to connect with people.
Absolutely. I think one common trend over here is that people are nice. You might find some bad apples here and there, but in general, when you ask and reach out for help, in terms of advice and stuff like that, people are always going to give you something that's going to make you a little better than yesterday. So it's about being fearless. And even if you're an introverted person who doesn't like to engage as much, I think a little bit you need to come out of that shell and then still try to, be proactive. I think that's the key. But it can be, again, it could be any other struggle, and maybe somebody else found this to not to be an issue at all. But whatever it is that you do face, it could be living on your own. Even if you want help, some issues at home or anything, you have to reach out for help. It could be even maybe finding someone to talk to in your society. I don't know. But I think the key is to be proactive and ask for help, and you're going to get it, either if
And
it's online or people around you.
and was it easier to like make friends in the university?
I think at least in DTU, right, you have the introduction week that helps you, into it. So where you are put into a group of 15 people from technically, you could say 11 different nationalities, because usually there are a few Danes in the group to help you get accustomed to the local culture in the 1 week that you are together with them. Everything starts there. And after that, it's all depends on you personally, right? Because if you're extroverted, introverted, these are pretty common. And I don't want to go into this whole topic, or I don't agree with the fact that, everyone here is cold and stuff like that. Of course, people are. And I do not have as many Danish friends as I would like to.
Yeah.
It's not about counting, right? It's just about seeing the kind of friends you have, and then you can see it pretty clearly. But I think the key thing to remember then is, if you were back home and an outsider came to mingle with you, would you engage with them as much? The
Mm-hmm.
answer is no. So when you have your own community, it's very hard to then make new friends. And I think that's just
Yeah.
something that you have to respect. So more often than not, you end up making friends with expats or outside, no, other Europeans or non-Europeans, whoever it is who've come to study here, because you have the same struggles, you share the same, you have things in common with them. And when you
Yeah.
have this common pain, then you relate more and you become better friends. And I think that's what it is really. So that, yeah, that's the thing. Right? And again, I think the key thing is the personality. If you are extroverted, it does become easier. If not, you'll have to put a little bit more effort so that you don't become secluded or all alone, maybe in this dark
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, especially like you need friends in the winter when it gets very dark. And you're right, like like I have becoming friends with people I'm learning Danish because we share the same
Exactly.
struggle of not knowing the language.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's always a uniting factor.
Yeah. And you make more international friends here than maybe one or two Danish friend. So you
Yeah.
think that you are friend, but let's see.
Yeah.
And Gokul, could you tell us, like, maybe give us some advice to students who are planning to, come to Denmark or who have already got the admission, if there are any advice to begin with?
Again, I'm no messiah or something, right? But from little what I've learned, I would say is that it's to be okay with the mentality that, or have that mentality that it's okay to fail and make your own mistakes. And the key thing is to learn from them. And this applies to everything, student studying or while looking for a job or even living as on your own, which if you haven't done before, it's definitely going to be a challenge. You can dread it as you want, as much as you want, but you have to face it, right? Because you made that decision to come here. So these are things, and I think the common uniting thing to get past it is to be okay to fail and not be good at some of these things, and then work your way through it. And besides that, at least from my struggles, I would say, if push comes to shove and you need to do an odd job, then be okay to do it because nothing is too bad.
Yeah.
No job or no task is too low, and it applies to everything. Whether it could come to group work even. Maybe you're not doing the most intellectual part of the job or the thing, and to have that mentality that you always have something to learn. And even when I worked in my odd jobs, I got the humility to value these kind of tasks and the people who do it more so. Now that I've been in these, I'll probably be. It's not like I was rude to people who did these kind of things, but I empathize a little more. So, and you learn a little bit more about how how difficult these things can get.
Yeah.
Things as simple as when you're waiting at a restaurant and you get annoyed when your food is too late. I now that I've done that part of the job, I know how bad it gets. So you can empathize a bit and give people that much. So again, what I'm trying to say is you have something to learn from anything that you do over here. And in terms of the society or the culture here itself, I think it has the right environment to be blessed with people who will give you the help. You will find
Yeah.
them for sure. It's about you trying to network and reach out to the right people. And that really comes to the final point, which is to network again. Whether it could mean friends or professionally, whatever it is, you have to reach out to more people and engage because that's the only way you're gonna know more than before. Because again, there are certain things about the soft skills, right? Like about how do you deal with the culture shock here, the way you work and stuff like that. These are not stuff that you could maybe read and master. You need to listen to personal experiences and take some advice here and there. And that's the best way to go about it. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Gokul, for sharing your story and especially talking about, what were the struggles that you faced and also the advices. I think it will definitely help students coming here, network and, find your way through it. And I think you are enjoying your life here in Denmark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Gokul, for your time today.
Thank you, Kriti. Thank you so much.